Hi and welcome to this Blueberry Markets video update with me, John Kibler, head currency analyst. In this video I'm going to take you through the Forex market wrap. I'm going to highlight some of the charts we highlighted this week and go through some of the moves after the fact. So let's talk about some of the news. First of all, we obviously had a lot of data in terms of a bit of medium impact data. Didn't have too much on the high impact data apart from sort of some US data in terms of we had the CB consumer confidence. We also had some really interesting data towards the end of the week. We had some core PCE price index month on month. So again, PCE price index is also kind of an indication of what's going on in line with inflation. And we can see that dropped. So there was a kind of an outlook yesterday where we saw some dollar selling off, and that was basically due down to sort of this sort of data that came out and basically showing that is inflation sort of topping out or is it kind of continue. Now we don't think that this is going to affect what the Fed is going to do. In fact, today the dollar has continued to push to the upside, causing some of those major currencies to fall, and it's what we kind of talked about at the start of last week. So other than that, we did get some really interesting speeches from the ECB, the Bank of England, and the Federal Reserve. Bank of England even talked about hiking rates a little bit more aggressively. Now that's quite interesting because they've been a bit tentative with their hikes due to the fact that they're going to push the UK into further unemployment, and there's a lot of talk of recession in the UK at the moment. So Bank of England, really interesting data coming out of that. Going on to some of the charts that we wanted to talk about this week then. So we highlighted in the week ahead analysis video the potential for euro US dollar to move to the downside. We did talk about the fact that the dollar was pretty strong at the moment, and the fact that price was trading within this sort of range, and the 106 area was acting as resistance. Price was really struggling to climb above that area, so we talked about whether price would potentially come up, retest that area, form some kind of double top and push to the downside, and that's eventually what we did see. We also kind of talked about the fact that price had kind of broken through this area, and we could see some further downside in the market towards this kind of low zone down through there. So euro dollar kind of fulfilled what we were looking for this week. It retested, rejected those 10600 levels, come all the way down to sort of the 104s. So yeah, a nice 200 sort of pip move there for you to look at going into this week. Moving on to Kiwi then. Again, very much like everything, we talked about the fact that the dollar could gain strength, and we did kind of highlight as well the factors of that risk on, risk off in the market, and the fact that there's a lot of risk off in terms of stocks have fallen quite aggressively recently. The S&P closed a gap and started to fall from that gap, so that was a factor as well that could help the dollar gain strength this week. And you can see here we did kind of expect a little bit more of a move higher. We did talk about the potential for a point of control retest of this weekly, but instead price held that original level that we talked about. It's really struggled to break above this key area through here where basically this selling began in the market, and price really struggled around there. So once it did start kicking off, we did break towards those kilos, and now we're trading below those kilos. So it'll be interesting to see how the market sets up for going into next week. But if the dollar's going to remain strong, we could see Kiwi continue to push to the downside. Euro yen we featured this week in a video. We talked about the potential to get short around about these highs, around about that 144 level. You can see here that we had a rejection in the past. Price drove that to the downside from here. Very aggressive selling coming from that level. So once we saw price coming back into that level, we thought a potential for euro yen to hold at this resistance point. And yeah, we did get that nice double top, and price did start pushing to the downside through here. First targets were sort of these lows down through there. Second targets all the way down through here. So there could still be some room for euro yen to push to the downside. Moving on to pound yen. Again, we kind of highlighted a particular area to look for an opportunity from the week ahead analysis video. This was obviously the market formed a nice lower high here, pushed to the downside, created this point of control around about there. Price retested the point of control, rallied to the upside, but this was an area that we were really interested in seeing if sellers were still around at this point. We had this quite a nice volume point through there, as well as an area of where those sellers had been in the past. So price rallied up to that point. Very interesting rejection around that area, around that zone, around about that 167, just above. Nice rejection, and price just really didn't look back at that point. We saw a little bit of a grind lower until sort of today's session, where we broke through that key 165 low through here, and price really started to push quite aggressively to the downside. Now, what we talked about in the week ahead analysis video is looking for targets at key points, and this point of control level down here at 162.51 was one of those points where we expected price to come and retest, and now we've hit that point. So again, kind of looking at sort of the price action going over what happened this week, it does look like risk off remains, and we've seen the yen strengthen, we've seen the dollar strengthen, and stocks have fallen again. So if that sentiment is going to continue in the market, we could see some further downside to these markets. Now, usually when we do get big moves like this, we often can see a retracement, so it might not be as simple as looking at just getting, short this next week with, price coming down to that 160. We may get the majority of next week having a little bit of a pullback, maybe back to this sort of 165 or even a little bit higher. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the content this week. I hope you found it really useful. Pardon me. I hope you learned a lot, and if you did, leave this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel to see some more of our Forex trading content, and I will speak to you in the next video.